I just spoke to my client and she said, Pete, I'm tracking for a £30,000 month. Not only that, she did £40,000 last month, but none of this makes it special or magic. It's the fact that she's a hairstylist. In an industry where it should be illegal to make that kind of money, right? You've never heard, I've never heard of a hairstylist generating these sorts of numbers, and it's not because she's some huge authority in the market or because she's launched her own product range. It's because she's following tangible steps that work in her business. And I'm going to share these steps with you now. And I know that in the online space, there's a lot of copy-paste advice, how to make six figures, and then it's all fluff. No one actually shares how they go about it. So I want to be as specific as possible within the next 5 to 10 minutes. Feel free to drop a comment below. Let me know what you do if you feel that this approach can work in your business too, because fundamentally why you're here is to see if what's working for her and also my other clients who are doing consistently 10, 20, 30K a month plus, if this also appeals to you. Before I get into it though, I want you to know what I'm about to share works in absolutely any industry. So long as you can create a transformation for your client, as long as you can create real change for them, then you can do this too. Without selling your soul on social media, without having to do all of these crazy launches, you can run a business that pays you extremely well and doesn't overwhelm you in the process. One thing I did forget to mention is that when I first started working with her, she was like every other hairstylist. She was back to back with clients, working 5-6 days a week. I had some pretty brutal phone calls with her where she opened up about the truth of her financial situation. She was desperate to make it work, and she made it work right from the beginning. She's one of my rare clients that didn't take 6 months, didn't take 3 months. She did it in month 1. And to be clear with you, she generated over £20,000 in our first month working together. She did go against the grain of what I teach in order to achieve that, but we're going to get into this now. How is it that a hairstylist or a personal trainer, beauty therapist, graphic designer, because these are all the sorts of clients that I work with, how is it possible in industries where you shouldn't be making this kind of money, not only are you hitting these numbers, that you're doing it month in, month out? And with my client, she has achieved this now month in, month out for 4 years. I have another client actually who does £20,000 to £30,000 a month, has done for 5 years now. She never misses, ever. They always hit their target, and particularly my other client who's achieving this, she hates social media, does zero social media. She's got a social media person who does a bit of awareness on Instagram, but that's it. She doesn't do any social media at all. So it's not just about showing up on social media every single day until your people find you, although I love that. That's why I do YouTube every single day. I also do YouTube every day because it's just great to share. And yeah, of course, there is business that happens here as well, despite not having huge numbers, but that's for another video. So with this particular client who's a hairstylist, when she first came into my world, she was like every other hairstylist, and I said, right, if you are going to create real change for your client, then you've got to sell in a different way. The major issue that I see is that in every industry, we all sell in the same way, and that's what keeps us stuck. If you sell in the same way, let's say you're a hairstylist now, if you sell in the exact same way as all the other hairstylists, then you're educating your clients and potential clients to buy from you in the exact same way as they would any other hairstylist. And that's where the confusion comes in. That's where we end up commoditizing what we do, so we devalue our true magic. So I said to her, what you need to do, and this is what I say for all my clients, is you need to let your clients know you're going to be working in a different way. What you've realized is that you want to add more value, you want to create bigger change and transformation for your clients when it comes to hair. And in order to achieve that, that means that you're going to be taking clients on over 3 to 5 months is how she works with her clients. She might just work with them over 3 months now. You're going to work with clients over 3 months, and she decided to focus on grey blending. I know nothing about hair, by the way, but she decided I'm going to focus on grey blending where I can really help my clients in this niche area. And I said to her, well, is that even a value? Like, do your clients want that? And she said, yeah, women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70s, grey blending is the thing. Now, what's interesting, I didn't know this at the time, is that grey blending is actually quite a basic, and I don't want to undersell this, but it's a commoditized, very normal treatment to have when it comes to your hair. So for her to suddenly start charging her clients thousands each seemed like a big uphill struggle. But what she did is she said, I'm all in, I need the money, I've got nothing to lose, and that's exactly what she did. She, on month 1, told all of her clients, by the way, I'm no longer going to be working on one-off treatments, one-off haircuts, shampoo and blow dry, whatever treatments they are, and other services. And she said, I'm going to be working with a few clients per month to help them with grey blending transformation. And if you're interested in finding out more about this, I can let you know. What I will say is, because I will be your trusted advisor in terms of hair for 3 to 5 months, however long, it means that we're going to be working in a slightly different way. And also, I'm going to be charging you somewhere in the region of £2,000 to £3,000. I think she started at £2,000 to £3,000, and now she's charging £6,000 per client. And she has a waiting list now. It's just bonkers, absolutely bonkers. And I know straight away, in your mind, you might be going, hold on, but surely, how do you justify charging £6,000? How many treatments do they get? What does this look like? Well, I'll be open with you. They don't get a set number of treatments, because when somebody pays you, let's say £6,000, the last thing you want to do is say, okay, you have just bought a block of treatments, or you bought a block of coaching sessions, or whatever it is that you offer. Because the issue is that you don't know. Some clients will require a lot more work. So in grey blending, I'm assuming certain hair is more stubborn, and certain clients require a lot more energy and input, and other clients require less treatments, but they still get the same result. And this is where it gets truly interesting. The energy shifts from you trying to convince the client to interviewing clients. So this is part of the process. You don't just take clients on. You have them go through an application process, and my client, she does this as a hairstylist. She markets the application. She says, I work in a different way to other hairstylists. And by the way, you can find her on social media. I'm not going to say a name here, but I've interviewed her on this platform as a clue, like a while ago. But I've interviewed her here. I'm going to do another interview with her soon. She's got over 500,000 followers now on social media, but that isn't the main reason why it's worked. I just need to state that. And the point is that so in month 1, when she made over £20,000, she invited her clients to apply to work with her and said, look, this is going to be completely different. Now, we need to understand buyer behavior. Nobody buys because they get a block of sessions. That's the worst reason for anybody to buy anything. Oh, wonderful, I get a block of 10 personal training sessions. No, we buy the body of our dreams. I'm going to have my personal trainer. There's ownership to everything. This is why, I don't know if you're aware of this, Uber struggled at the beginning, because they advertised all of the features. Said you can book in app, you can track your journey, you can send your journey to a friend to make sure you get home safe, all of these things, right? And nobody cared. The features don't matter. And then some marketing genius came up with an idea to say, well, why don't we just change the marketing and say your own private driver? Now, I'm from the generation where all we wanted was our own private driver if we became rich. I remember that was the 90s thing, that when I become rich, I am going to have my own private driver. So Uber leveraged this and said, how about your own private driver? And I believe, I might be misquoting here, but I believe at the beginning of Uber, when they started to succeed, they only had Uber Lux. So it was the Mercedes, the BMWs, you could be picked up in style and have your own private driver. Think about this. We love ownership. My personal trainer, my yoga instructor, my nutritionist, my consultant. The funny thing is, I've done a lot of consulting for big companies over the years, and I'm talking multi-billion-dollar companies. Last year I consulted for one of the biggest cruise lines in the world. I traveled all over the world, 30 different countries, and I have never once been introduced to the teams, the departments, and had the director say, by the way, we brought in Pete Scott as a consultant. We got a really good deal with him, team. He was super cheap to bring in. It's never happened. What happens is that the team are brought together in the department, and one of the important directors will open the meeting and say, team, we've brought in some outside help, and I need you to pay attention because this guy was not cheap. As a company, we've invested in him to invest in you. So don't make us waste our money. There's bragging rights when you have ownership. Are you excited to get the cheapest personal trainer? Or how would you feel when your friend compliments you and says, wow, you're looking so good, what are you doing different? And you say, it's my personal trainer. They say, well, who is she or he? Oh, no, she's very expensive, right? Ownership. If we judged a £10,000 pen the same as a £1 pen in its ability to write, then we would never see the value. You don't buy a £10,000 pen. Not many people do buy a £10,000 pen, I get that, but you don't buy a £10,000 pen for how it writes. You buy because of the ownership, because of who you are in the fact that you could buy that pen. You don't buy a Ferrari because it's easy to maintain and it's cheap to run. You buy a Ferrari because of who you are. Status. We must understand that buyer behaviour is nothing to do with function. If we are placing value only on the function of our work, we miss the true value of our work. I don't like to use the word package, but this is repackaging your expertise. It's repackaging you so you no longer operate from a place of low value psychology and you can truly shift into this place of high value psychology. So with my client in month number 1, she made these invites, and I remember still being on a call with her. I said, how did you feel when you offered this to the first client? She said, Pete, I felt sick. I literally thought I was going to go into the other room and vomit. So she was all over the place with it, and I don't recommend this. But guess what happened? She had a number of clients who said yes and generated over £20,000. The coolest thing, and I haven't even mentioned this yet, is none of my clients are working back to back, because if you're charging thousands, you do not want to be back to back with clients. They work with 3 to 5 clients per month, and with this client particularly, she works 3 to 4 days per week. Not bad from going fully but back to back 6 days a week making no money to making 30, even £40,000 a month every single month with extreme consistency. Business goes where it's invited, but if you don't make the offer for £5,000, you'll never get a client for £5,000. And if you don't make an offer for £2,000, you'll never get a client for £2,000. People ask me all the time, I have people that inquire, and they go, Pete, I love your methodology and what you teach, and it's very nuanced, but at the same time, it's very doable. And they say, I'd love to do that, and I say, okay, great, let's work together. And they say, well, not right now, blah, 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 and that's okay. I'm not here to convince anyone, it's up to you. Also, I do an application process because I practice what I preach. I ask to apply, and then from there, there's an interview. And that interview is like 20 minutes. And I want to know that is this person making the right decision? Is this the right solution for them? So for me, it's all about fit as opposed to convincing them to buy. But the funny thing is that I get two sorts of people. I get people like this client that I've mentioned who get it and they're like, yeah, I'm on board, let's do this thing. They invest and they're good to go. And then I get the others that go, this sounds amazing. I'm going to try and figure this out by myself. And inevitably what happens is they get to a point a year later and they reach out again, and they're in the exact same position. I'm not saying you can't do it by yourself, but what I'm saying is that get some kind of help, whether that's me, whether that's somebody else, but get someone to help you, because otherwise you're stuck in this low value psychology, believing it's you against the world. I thought that for many years. I'm a lone wolf, I'm going to make this happen. Now I want access to anybody who can help me get an advantage. So that's the message for you today. And by the way, look at this cat. I'm almost out of battery on here. Hello, buddy. There's so much more that I want to share on this, but this is the foundation. You have to solve a specific problem for your client. You have to offer them a transformation. You do need to step into a place of beingness, because if you don't own this, if you're still operating from this stress, worry, fear, anxiety, survival mode, it's just not going to work. And even when you make a sale, you're going to fuck it up. I've seen this before. I had another client who, this is quite a few years ago, I've learned to teach better since then and help them better. But she actually made over £18,000, I think it was £18,000, from just one evening. And she is in the beauty industry as a beauty therapist. Can you believe it? She'd done a 2-hour little workshop. She followed my process and she said, Pete, amazing. I've sold over £18,000 of transformations. I was like, wow, that's incredible. What she failed to tell me is that she had sold a bunch of her time and ended up in a whole load of time debt. And even though she had the £18,000 in her account, she was then committed to these clients and over-delivering, because she believed that making a lot of money meant that she needed to roll out the red carpet. She needed to be there for them 24/7. And she gave so much to those clients, and they don't want that. The funny thing is that when you step into high value psychology, you'll do far less for your clients and they'll appreciate it more, because it's not about what you're doing for the client, it's about how you're helping the client transform. Let me know your thoughts below. If you're not subscribed yet, make sure you do. And by the way, if you're not in my community, what you're doing, check it out below. You can get into my community today, but it's time to offer transformations in your business too.